right, all right. Welcome back. Friday, another great Friday. It is really a pretty good Friday, actually. Today is, the 31st of January. It's the last day of the month, of the first month of the year 2025. Wow, we're chugging. Pretty cool. Let's see. Art, good to see you. John, good to see you.
Howdy.
There's a lot going on in all sorts of other things, although in our little world, our little niche, I've been seeing more in the social media channels from Lexmark, right? I think Kyocera, however you pronounce her business. Shouldn't do that. I like her a lot. I like what they do. But she had an interview out with the Xerox dude and a Lexmark dude. And so they're out there trying to get the word out. And somebody somewhere, it was a Lexmark guy. Here we go. He started talking about, we need to start selling away from speeds and feeds. And my jaw went, 1999 just called, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely correct. I find it hard to believe that someone mentioned that again.
And we're not talking, you're fresh out of college marketing rep, who just read the spec sheets. So this is a guy at the top directing the whole company. And we think you can't really, it's sad on so many different fronts. A, that he had to say, that he said it, and B, that he had to say it, because there are people out there who go, oh yeah, that makes sense. So, and then, someone went off on him today. Xerox, along the lines of Xerox has destroyed everything they've ever touched. This won't be any different kind of comments. Like, whoa, dude.
Right. Where was this going on? LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn. It was on LinkedIn or Twitter or No, it wasn't TikTok. It was not TikTok. Yeah, I think it was LinkedIn. And so, but that's what happens when you get out there more, and no one's ever, I haven't seen a Lexmark person talk about Lexmark in years, right? Even before, whenever they got bought by the Chinese, the Chicoms, the communist red China, they went dark, and then COVID hit, and by dark I just mean to me, and that's all that matters. But but this week seen more and more.
From time to time, you'll see their press releases or some videos they put up on YouTube.
Good.
But you'll hear maybe from their distributors, touting a new product or a new solution. But otherwise, you're pretty much correct. You haven't seen a face out there in quite some time.
But it's good to see a face. The message, okay, maybe they can evolve in the next 30 days or whatever. But we'll see.
Well, so the message should be is everybody's got to go look for a job.
But we're not moving back to Lexington. Oh, too bad. Yeah. I mean, dang it, I like Lexmark. I mean, there were some things technically I did not like about Lexmark when you tried to put them on an MPS contract. I think they were the only ones that would read empty when they had like 40% still left in the cartridge. So you can imagine the headaches. Like, wait a minute.
That was a constant battle, Rico. Constant.
Well, you do that, and you take the people. Oh, geez, it's just humans being human. Pull out the cartridge and do what you do. You shake it, put it back in. Meanwhile, your MPS software just went what? It cracks me up all the time. All that stuff. I don't miss that part of it. What's her name? Shutting down her machine over Christmas vacation that was running the monitoring software. Those old days. So that's
years,
right.
For years we did the Tony shaking bit.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're at it, I got a little trivia question for the two of you. Since Greg mentioned, what did you mention?
Toner?
No.
MPS?
Where is Lexmark located?
Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington. Got it. Yeah. So what's the capital of Kentucky?
Oh, God.
Bismarck. I don't know.
Bismarck, North Dakota, I think.
That's a tough one, right?
No. I used to know it. It's French. It's not Versailles, is it?
No,
Okay, hang on. It's not.
hot dog.
Is it
hot dog,
Lexington?
hot dogs.
Oscar Mayer. Oscar, Kentucky. No, wait.
Frankfurt.
Oh,
Frankfurt, Kentucky?
Frankfurt.
Yeah, yeah. It
That's the
came up.
capital of Kentucky?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever heard of that.
Yeah, no, no. It came up. I had a lot of drive time a few days ago, and they started talking about some of the obscure capitals of some of these states. And one that came up was Kentucky, and I couldn't think of it. And
Yeah, at one point I did know it, but here, okay, so it's Frankfurt, which is German. They've got Versailles, but it's not pronounced Versailles. You know, they've got all sorts of French cities in there in Kentucky. It's just a weird thing. And now that you talk Kentucky, I mean, that's where the bourbon started.
right now, talking about bourbon, we've got an event going on, John and I, down in Atlantic City, for an engineering show. And I'm going to pick up the cigars and ask John to pick up the bourbon
Yeah.
as giveaways.
Yeah.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
So John asked what type of bourbon. So I recommended Buffalo Trace because that's about all I know.
Oh. How much do you want to spend? How much do you want to spend?
Well,
That's a good question. I would think we would want something that would be appealing to the eye in a crowd of possibly not sophisticated bourbon drinkers.
Understood. I understand. Well, that doesn't answer the question. I mean, you can get a lot of cool looking bottles for $12.
I mean, I don't know. I would say
right.
between what, 60 and 80 bucks?
Yeah, that should be. What I mean, what's your budget?
I don't know.
Whatever
50,
I turn in for expenses, that's my
50,
budget.
Oh, okay.
50,
I doubt
$60.
Yeah, I doubt Tim would let me go over $100.
Don't. Yeah, you don't need to. 60 to 80 bucks is great. I mean,
So
you could. Yeah.
I thought about marrying the infused cigars with the bourbon. So I know I can get Buffalo Trace cigars.
Interesting. Nice.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Buffalo Trace. Joe Rogan loves Buffalo Trace. I mean,
Okay.
so it's that goes the name rec. And if you've got the paired cigars, I think that's a pretty good marketing statement there. What are you guys showing off?
Wide format printer.
And
Stuff for architects, engineers. A big. How big is that screen, John? 70 some inches.
The one we're taking down is 65 inch Android touchscreen.
Okay, so you're going to marry the Android touchscreen to your output device,
Yes.
your cigars to your bourbon.
Yes.
Done deal. I do the Buffalo Trace if you can get them both.
Okay.
And yeah, that's perfect. Now,
Okay.
I would also say this, that demographic is a little higher, don't you think? The engineers and architects like the Brady Bunch dad and stuff like that.
So last year we had Buffalo Trace, and we actually got quite a few cards in the
Yeah,
in the queue.
I'd go Buffalo Trace. That's cool. Yeah, good name rack, good entry level bourbon. Everyone knows it. And I like the idea with the cigars too. And I can't think of anyone else who does that. With the brand name is on both. So I'd approve that. I'd approve that up to $123.
So there we go, Johnny.
Excellent. Excellent. I have that noted.
Don't mention my name though.
We'll put your card. We'll tape your card to the bottle when we give it away.
Speaking of, yeah. Oh, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, okay. Solved one problem already. This is a great week. It's a great week.
Hey, ask us anything, right?
That's right. I have not seen any this week that I can remember, any want ads. I know I call it. Remember we talked a couple weeks in the past? There's always been someone out in my stream hiring, which, by the way, if you do that, I just spin it and share it. So it's anything from text to salespeople. And it's been a lot of text before last few weeks. But this week, I don't remember one, not one.
Right. I saw probably a half a dozen to a dozen placements.
Wow. I saw something with Flex, got their old VP back or something like that. I don't know who that is. But, that stuck with me because, you can never get out. They always bring you right back in. So I think this guy got out. It's now back
Right.
in.
So it was a good week in sales. At least,
Yeah.
for me.
What's going on, Art? What's the temperature out there?
Temperature's good. I probably logged 4 orders this week. I think that February is going to end up making up for a not so good January, and should be right on track to have a good year. So far everything looks fine. Economy seems fine. Of course, we had that blip Wednesday night with the plane crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
That one is a tough one. Did you guys see who was on the plane?
Scary.
Yeah, a bunch of ice skaters.
Yeah.
Kids, 11 and 12 and
Yeah.
13, 14. It's like, are you kidding me? God protects them.
Yeah.
So that sucked. That sucks.
Yeah. I'm one who I always get a window seat on a plane. And and I'm always, as we get closer to landing, I've got my head just mashed up against the window, just looking below.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, getting closer, trying to say how many feet we're at. And oh my goodness, this plane got hit in the ass by a helicopter and just at 400 feet. Unreal. You're so close. Unreal.
And they're going down in water. That was bad. I saw on the news last night, 1982, the same thing happened. Not the same thing, but a plane went into the Potomac, but there were survivors.
That was during a snowstorm.
Yeah, that was an incredible. Now,
Yeah, I
not to take
remember
anything
that.
you do, don't. So do I. Didn't remember until I saw it. I go, oh my God, I remember that. Some guy jumps in, and all of a sudden, the dude jumped in. I go, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that. So that's a bummer.
I'm just trying to look at some updates this week, and an update came across that had me perplexed. All right, because Epson came out with what's called a new Troy Group Security Solutions powered by Epson Procore. Did you see it, Greg?
I did see it, and
did it make much sense to you?
When I think it's the same thing when I saw someone doing check washing. They were washing the ink off of checks. That was some sort of security thing and it might not have been that, but it was there was a printer and then the old magnetic toner kind of together. But yeah, I saw it, Art, but honestly, and this is the way I do it. If it doesn't hold me for more than 3 seconds, I keep going. And an Epson, nothing personal, but a new Epson printer to print checks.
Well, it just wasn't for printing checks.
What was it then, Art?
They go on to say, heat free, blah, blah, blah. Adds a layer of security to documents by printing overt or covert security markings using UV fluorescent ink to help businesses. Now, doesn't every single color printer out there have yellow dots on it? Because if not, the government doesn't allow those printers. So there was just, John, before you go, Night Agent, I just watched all 10 episodes, and that's how they found a document came from. By the dots, the yellow dots on a copy.
I haven't seen it yet. Well, the yellow dots, weren't those on cannons when you tried to?
All.
They're on all of them, huh?
All print devices. So they don't print money and they can't print certificates and stuff like that. Or if they do print, the government knows where it came from.
Right. You can track the printer. Right.
And who the printer was sold to, serial number. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. So there's two things you're mentioning. There's the UV stuff for security, and then there's the dots for traceability. So the dots are microprint. So microprint, if you look at checks, if you look around the border, that's not a line. It's not a gray line. That's actually microprinting. So copiers have gotten much better at that. Not as good as checks, because checks are printed with presses, but those little dots are in a kind of a braille pattern that is the serial number of the machine. From the serial number, you can tell exactly what machine. Every manufacturer has its own serial number codes. So that's finding, who printed it. But on the security side, there is invisible, it's called invisible red or UV ink toner that is clear, except when you shine a UV light on it, where it glows red or blue or whatever color it
Right.
is. So in some fifth stations, so some copiers that can support a fifth color besides CMY and K, they can lay down essentially clear toner that glows when exposed to UV light. So you get a black light, you shine it over it, and it glows. So you can make tickets like that, you can make passes like that, certificates like that, all that
Right.
stuff that makes it difficult to counterfeit by just making a copy. So yeah, there's those two things. Now checks specifically use magnetic ink, which checks I think are the only thing that uses magnetic ink, and they use the magnetic ink in those characters that look kind of square at the bottom, so they can be read more reliably by scanners. Now the technology has gotten to the point where the optical readers can read those characters just fine with similar rates of detection as magnetic scanners can. But yeah, so it's some kind of technology. I tell you, it's
So it has to be with what you call it, the fifth what?
the fifth. So fifth station, fifth color. Yeah.
Makes sense. So that's what's special about that Epson printer, is it's got the fifth station.
Yes.
Well, no,
And
well, it's got, it's a color printer, yes. And it's only got from the picture I see, it's only got 4 colors in it. Black, cyan, magenta, and yellow.
Gotcha. What model is it?
It's a new model,
Yeah,
done
check it
by
out.
Troy WFC 21000 Mica color printer. So
Mica. Oh, it's a
so
Mica.
it says it's Mica now, right? But
yeah, which would be magnetic, but
right, but do you put magnetic in Mica?
That's what
Yeah,
Michael said.
that's what makes it.
MICR, magnetic ink character recognition, I believe.
Now you got me going. John, this would be interesting. Maybe all 4 colors are magnetic now, as opposed to just the black, or maybe the black gets thrown into the color, and somehow that.
So when Rosetta came out with a new color Mica printer, right? That's actually by Ricoh sells it, right? The only thing that's Mica is the black ink.
All right.
But
so
I'm having a little bit of a hard time with this, because I have probably as an account of mine, one of the biggest check companies in the Northeast, and there is a little worry that basically everybody is going to, when they get their checks now, when they're not getting ACH, they're basically taking those checks and taking a picture on their phone, and then making the deposit.
Well, that's part of the thing.
What's the need for Mica then?
You don't. Well, you look at the market hit it's been taken since the last 5 years, and how many people do it. I mean, all the banks will take a picture of your check now, all of them. And
right.
If you work with like Bank of America and you've been there for a while, you get the money like fast too. It's crazy.
It's interesting. It raises another interesting point. So if this check if I get a check and if it was produced by this Troy Mica printer, and I take a picture of it, and it was fraud, would a picture show up on my phone? With void or something like that?
Interesting, but I doubt it. Well, you know what? There's no guarantee that every single phone would be able to detect something like that through if you're taking a picture through your phone. Apple's might have their, or there may be that it will, but I think I like the idea of what you said, John, just being able to put that, embed that right into a ticket or
Yeah.
something, right? Because that's really, they concert tickets. Now you've seen them, right? They're big. They're
Sure.
a placard. They've got the hologram and then the
Yeah.
3D
Yeah.
barcode and everything. So might as well just, but they're not cheap to make either, I'll bet.
Oh, no. Oh, no, certainly not. But, yeah, so I mean, the fancier they are, the more exotic technology they have, the more secure they are because the harder they are to reproduce.
Interesting. So there's one thing that came across, another thing that came across in the press release, and it's the last point I'll make on this. It says, unlike laser devices that use heat and can break down functional materials in the ink during the process.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. Laser printers don't use ink.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. What's going on?
I mean, are you a little bit confused? I mean, all laser printers use toner, dry toner, period.
Now you got me.
Well, it just makes me double think the whole press release. Do they really know what they're selling or supporting?
That's why I don't like marketing.
Sure, you get a smart ass like me who reads the entire press release and says, well, what the hell is going on?
Well, ultimately that's not the marketing firm's problem. That's whoever edited and approved it finally, right? So if that came out, I mean, I'd have to see it, Art, but the combination of conversation is we're selling a laser printer, but we're talking about ink. We're not using heat. Is it a different, no. Is it an inkjet printer? It's not an inkjet printer.
Yeah, it's an inkjet printer. Yeah.
Well, okay. So the inkjet printer has the ink that does the UV stuff. Is that what?
That's correct. And they're saying it's mica. I mean, that's what I get.
They say mica, M-I-C-R, huh?
They say mica, M-I-C, yeah.
Well, now you've got a liquid mica, which I don't see why there wouldn't be, but I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it either. Don't you think that the mica is magnetic?
Yeah, it's magnetic.
Iron particles. In order to be magnetic, it's got to be
charged.
Yeah, it's got to be charged.
Yep.
So does the particles float to the bottom? Do the particles clog the print heads?
Hey, maybe these are quantum level particles. We might be not thinking deeply enough.
It very well could be, but anyway, I thought it was a unique.
Both on and off at the same time.
I thought it was something unique to talk about.
It is. I didn't think it was, but now you got me thinking. Yeah.
So one of the other releases for this week is in Japan. John will be happy about this.
Yeah.
Ricoh is releasing their first their A4 replacement for the IMC 300 and 400.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's taken about 5 years.
What are those?
Are they going to be the same size?
It looks like it from the picture. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I put it on my website. Print for Pay Hotel plug.
Nice.
And it's going to be the IMC 431. It looks like it's one machine that's going to replace two.
Are these laser printers, office printers? What are they?
Laser. These are laser A4.
Okay.
In that 35, I think 35 page a minute.
Yeah,
range.
desktop typically, although you could make them taller, but the nice part about it was they could use the same software as all the other larger devices. So any print tracking, advanced scanning, integration with the cloud, integration with document management systems, the device supported all the same advanced technologies. So
that's great.
It's starting to get bigger and bigger, that stuff, John. I mean, John and Greg.
It is.
I just took an order today for a client who had 5 years of cloud service built into their machine.
Wow.
Right. So for scanning basically to Microsoft OneDrive.
Um, yeah, speaking of scanning, have you seen anything new come up with scanning? I got something come through about Twain again. A couple of announcements. I think they're from you, Art, actually. Something going on with the Twain folks.
I'd have to go through my
I don't.
through my stuff, but I'm going to change gears a little bit on you.
Sounds good.
A company called Technavio, if I'm pronouncing that right, is the global print market size estimated to grow by US dollars 11.25 billion from 2025 to 2029, grow at a CAGR of 3.5%. And this would be for, it seems more like A4 devices, that growth in A4. And when I was out at ECS in Scottsdale, many of the bigwigs there were talking about the future growth of A4.
How do I get?
Greg, you look unconvinced.
I,
Very
well,
skeptical.
I am well, I'm not unconvinced. I'm glad you clarified that. It's a growth in A4, but it's not a growth in overall print.
Growth
Right.
in machines. Yeah. So which tells the tail, right?
Yeah.
The tail is how many boxes will you move for me?
And it's boxes.
Well, it's
And they're
boxes.
A4s. They're
And
cheaper boxes. That
they're
so
hoping the prints come along with the boxes.
yeah, Lyra 2012, I think, called that. The shift from the A3 to A4s and how the volume is going to go down, but the number of A4s being shipped will go up. People are scratching, and it's still right. So it's just a shift. But all right. And then I'd like to know geographically where that's coming from. If it's third world,
Says global.
yeah, whenever they say global, if they don't say North America or, they throw global, that's Asia, India.
Here you go. Here you go. Europe, North America. It's the whole world. It's the whole freaking world. Europe, North America, South America, Middle East, Africa, US, China, Germany, Japan, UK, India, South Korea, France, Brazil, Italy.
Well, I don't disagree with it, right? I think the print volume is going down, but it is going to the smaller devices. There hasn't been, I think there's still pent up demand for A4s from the last COVID, and no one's buying anything. These sluggish economic system or markets, and it's going to rebound. So, okay, great. I think they'll be selling a ton of. They probably were going to sell a lot in the Ukraine. Not going to do that anymore. Although you might have to. There might be a spike in printers in the Ukraine.
I think so.
Well, if they end the war and then they got to rebuild, your wide formats are going to take off. Going to be all sorts of weird stuff over there.
I guess. Or the same thing in Gaza. Then.
California. Yeah. Well, that's going to be interesting, huh? Rebuilding that. Was it 25,000 acres in the Palisades, California, or something? That swamp, all those houses, all those structures are gone.
And now all the rain they're getting is just going to be mudslides.
That is classic California, fires and floods. I would say it's a little bit late in the season, but that's the sucks.
That's it, yeah. Fortunately, when it rains, it pours, and when it burns, it burns.
It never rains in California, but when it rains, baby, it pours.
Oh,
I'm trying to think if there was.
Well, that's a good catch on the Epson, Art. I just lost everything.
As far as updates, otherwise there wasn't much going around. Xerox releases fourth quarter full year results. Not good.
I saw that, but I didn't dive deep. Did you take a look? Is it?
Um,
I used to follow those things all the time, but I don't do that.
uh, I don't know how to read some of these. The GAAP net loss of 21 million or 20 cents per share, an improvement of 37 million or 30 cents per share year over year. Operating cash flow, I guess this would be pretty important. 351 million, down 38 million
Yeah.
year over year. Right?
Ooh.
Free cash flow was 334. Now it's down 45 million. So now it's under 300 million.
Well, all right, here we go. I got a little summary here. Revenue was down 7.5%. Revenue. So the total revenue was 1.5 billion.
Yeah, I have something different here. Revenue is 6.2 billion, down 9.7%. FY 2024.
I'm sorry. I did a quarter, not the whole year.
Got it. Doesn't bode well for the purchase of Lexmark, does it?
That's got to be in. Well, it might not be in there. It's probably mentioned, but I don't know if the cost.
No. Well, they haven't paid for it yet. It's going to
Yeah,
be.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But
Did you say the loss was 6 billion?
No. GAAP net loss of 1.3 billion.
Okay, that
I don't know. I don't know how to read that. Revenue 6.22, down 9.7%, or 9.5% in constant currency. GAAP net loss, however they figure that out, it goes of 1.32 billion, or $10.75 per share.
per shares, but it's the other side. The revenue's still down.
Right.
That's really where you want to look at. And it took a loss after everything. So
Yeah. So correct. And then I was looking at some of the fourth quarter stuff of that's probably what you got.
I looked at
It says the free
Q3, but
cash flow. Pardon?
yeah. I was looking at Q3 dated October 29th.
Got it. So here it gives the last one, free cash flow of 467 million, down 182 million year over year.
Cash flow. That's not good.
No.
Xerox holding stocks have plunged 51% in the last 12 months. Ooh.
That's even worse.
Buy gold, baby.
Yeah, according to Yahoo Finance, fourth quarter earnings. Wow. And a cautious 2025 forecast. Yeah, I think they're losing less money. That's a positive.
Yes, that's
right. Yeah, okay. So there you go.
well, I'd be curious. Don't do it, but I'm curious. I'd see what HP's is, HP Inc. Then measure those two together. But they're not gonna. They're just gonna tell us what we already know. That's a lot. That's a big loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
quite a bit of cash.
That other study that says that it's going to grow 11% or something like that. Your A4s.
If they're just going by number of boxes is one thing, but I mean, what does that equate to in revenue? I don't know. But
I know, and it's a market too, so it's not even,
yeah.
Not that. But anyway, but see, that's why I don't follow them anymore, because you could take our conversation we just had and put it back 10, 15 years ago. We'd be talking about the same thing. Not kidding, right? And, maybe Rico and Icon might be in the conversation as a merger or whatever it was. But it'd still be the same thing. At least we're not talking about the president, though, of Xerox like we used to.
Yeah. So, Craig, I'm surprised you haven't spoken about AI yet.
Well, I'm giving you guys all the floor. AI's
So,
big.
so I'll open it up with that
Thank you.
new Chinese AI that kind of blew the market open for a day or so.
Yeah, now remember, you guys know this. He's a stock market. So when they say Nvidia lost $2,200 trillion, he didn't really lose it. Right?
Because you never really had it.
Never had it. It's a valuation based on X that changes all the time. But it's called DeepSeek. I refer to it as Deep Suck.
Okay.
It is directly. It's not even like they're trying to hide it. It is. If you read the terms of service, you are agreeing to do whatever the the Red Party of China tells you to do. It's like, wait a minute, there's not even a little filter at all, like you're pretending. No, this goes right to them. And then what tipped me off about this is the hype, the quote unquote hype that actually caused the stock to change.
Right.
Was primarily generated by offshore influencers. There were the Americans, the typical IT, technology, AI people. It wasn't that we didn't see it or they didn't see it, it's that they saw it and it was no big deal. But then someone got a hold of it over the weekend, actually, and the hype was just huge, just massive. And I think what they used as a pivot point was that Deep Suck became the largest download on, whatever machine, iTunes.
iTunes,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well, I don't know why people forgot, we didn't, that the Chinese have click farms, right? They can subscribe 1 million subscriptions anywhere in like 10 minutes.
Why wouldn't everybody have chicken farms?
Not like the Chinese. They've got it. I mean, they really, I've seen videos of it. They'll have 1,000 iPhones.
Yep.
On a wall.
Yep.
And these machines, gotta remember, they have plenty of manpower to throw at stuff.
Wow.
So, so I don't believe those numbers. Then they had the gall to say they did it for $6 million.
Yep.
You can't do anything. Look at our channel. How many $6 million dealerships are there? They're they're smaller dudes. You can't create something like that with only. Then you start to get to another level. Well, they use 10,000 NVIDIA chips. Hold on. Weren't those embargoed?
And chips that they had left over, right? I read part of that.
They're saying,
well, no,
we got these older H100s, whatever, before the embargo. Oh, so China didn't copy anything, didn't steal anything, didn't do anything like that to do any shenanigans at all. And they came across, and they were able to do it cheaper than us. Okay. But the problem is everyone believed them. Right? But there are holes in the whole story. There's not even in the story, but in the technology. All right. So someone went out the other day, and you might know about this, John, but was able to get into the back door and actually pulled out chat conversations, which you can't do over here, I guess.
Well, it was a huge security hole that someone exploited in the database that they use, and it was substantial. It's fixed now, but still.
Which I believe is just a ruse anyway, right? These guys are good. They're not going to tell you that they're cheating you and stealing your shit, that they are cheating you and stealing your shit. Yeah. When they tell you that, here, you can download it and use it locally. Okay. Well, everyone's thinking, well, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
What was that thing, Stuxnet? Remember that one that blew up?
Yeah.
The centrifugal, whatever the hell they were in Iran?
The centrifuges in Iran.
That was a virus.
Yeah. Well, they ran those locally.
Yes, that was an air gap network. Yes.
There's no local, and it's if as many people did download it as they say they did, it's too late. I mean, it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese they took and they thought TikTok was going away 24 months ago, so they built this thing up.
Yeah,
this is more insidious than weather balloons. This one's a bad one, and I only thought it because of the hype was so. I mean, the hype's been big for everything else, but this thing seemed really artificial. It's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, what? And then when I unfortunately I used it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. but I don't care. Here's where I'm at. Well, if it's going to be a government that's going to spy on me, I'd rather be mine. Then I did this.
Yeah.
The day they announced it, I put my query as, tell me about Tank Man at Tenement Square. And it said, boom, no, we're here to tell you things that don't cause harm. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're not going to talk about Tank Man. They're not going to talk about Taiwan and how Taiwan became Taiwan. They won't talk about it. Or the Cultural Revolution. They won't talk about that.
Great. You use the chat version, right? You didn't download it, correct?
Oh, no, I did not download it.
I heard that the downloaded version is more free.
It is.
Less what's that called? What do they do?
Censored.
Yes, less censored. Yes.
I've heard the same. I don't care. No, I mean, we're at that point now. This is the AI war is now really going to happen.
Absolutely.
We dunked 500 billion into it. These yahoos come out saying we can do the same thing for 600 or 60. Bullshit. We saw your what was it? 6th gen fighter jet that's supposed to take on ours. It looks exactly like ours except for the rivets and the seams.
Yes.
Has everyone forgotten that whole Eastern culture are cloners? Japan, they did it with us, transistor radios, refrigerators.
They also, did Japan, Toshiba, back in the 80s, sold the submarine technology to the Russians. I
forgot about that. Yeah, the quiet stuff.
Technology.
Interesting.
But I'm sure that Biden had nothing to do with the Chinese or anything like that. Yeah, what killed me, I think Clinton was in office. Oh, and they got our missile tech from when Clinton was in the office. And you see these missiles, it looks like a lot like ours.
Mm-hmm.
It does. But the jet was just, it came out 6-7 months ago. The 6th gen Chinese fighter jet. It looks like our F-35. How did that happen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I don't trust. Now I'm going to be a little more vocal about it now. I don't trust them. I don't know.
I definitely will not. I'm reading over their terms of services right now.
Oh my God, don't.
I definitely will not be using it.
But I have to say, in the stuff that I've I've read and looked into online, the way they did it, I think is the future.
Yeah.
Essentially leveraging ChatGPT to make a leaner, meaner AI engine.
It's delicious. It is delicious.
It is.
It's like, wait a minute.
Why don't we take? Yeah. You don't have to be a master carpenter. You can be an apprentice for 5 years and build the most beautiful cabinet in the world.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend your life learning.
There's
and that's
1,000 hours equals an expert level. That's gone.
It leveraged the genius that was ChatGPT and made it all right. Do this easier, or do this with less hardware requirements, or do this with less space. And wow, it's pretty good. Now it doesn't beat ChatGPT and everything, but it's still pretty good for a first try.
It's well, not if you want to pure technical. Yeah, if I take out all, and I have to like take a deep breath and separate from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like your point about they took what you guys did well and used what you guys did to make something that it looks like it's better than what you guys have.
Exactly.
It is okay. Well, now OpenAI can take what they did to make it look better than this, and I'm going to make that look even better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
our AIs are building better AIs.
Yeah, I think that's the silver lining. Oh, you want to poke the bear?
Mm-hmm.
No. Scream at the eagle? Here you go.
Hold on, I may have to.
Like that.
Yeah, I thought that, and the sheer volume of news that generated was unbelievable. I mean,
It is unbelievable.
It's everywhere now.
It's unbelievable. That's the word. It's not organic. It's unbelievable. Something my spidey said, well, wait a minute, because I'm in it every day. I read all this stuff. I know I have a pretty good finger on the pulse of what's coming out via the channels. And all of a sudden, boom, through the roof. And it's, the war's over, China won. Go, wait, what just happened? And then I look at it, and these guys are from India. They're from all over the place. They're not Americans. They're not even Europeans. The European people haven't said a word. There's no buzz coming from anywhere. And then when it started to buzz, and then of course, what's it? OpenAI says that they stole it. Mm-hmm. So everyone's going, well, you guys have been stealing shit from us for the rest of the last 2 years.
Yeah, it seems disingenuous for AI or for ChatGPT to say, oh, they took our intellectual property when they trained their AI model on everyone's intellectual property. It's
on the surface that looks like it's true, but it really isn't. What they did was the methodology that allowed OpenAI to take everyone else's IP. But see, I like this conversation too, because now we can get that out in the open. I say that IP and copyrights and trademarks are dead. I think that's it. I think that's it.
Yes.
Once it's out there.
Exactly. I mean, how is that much different than going to a library and reading a book on physics and making your own nuclear reactor?
Right.
Is that copyright infringement?
No, it's not, because it got into, currently, no, it's not, because it got into your brain and you used it as inspiration.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So my LLMs and my chat GPTs, this is exactly what I do. I'll find some interesting articles that I see a thread, right? I see a thread. It could be bourbon, AI, tanks, whatever, but I see the thread. Sure. I'll take those and throw them at one of my custom GPTs that I've trained to think and talk in a certain style, say, have at it. And out comes a 4,500 word article that I've got. But okay, we didn't steal. I just said we. Nobody's.
If you name your LLM, that's
already did.
Beyond
I got a staff of 7. Robert, Charlie, they all have names. Yeah. And they have pictures.
Wow.
I've done this. I did that 12 months ago. And their writing style. Hang on, one guy who writes like Tom Clancy and Ernest Hemingway. Another guy is a Stephen King and so. Then I've got a sexologist. She's a specialist in physical health and all that stuff. But Dr. Ruth, all the high end,
nice,
all that stuff. Anyway, so did we steal those articles? Although, no, we didn't. In my opinion, it's just like me reading 12 different articles and then writing an article after 120 days and blood, sweat, and tears. Or I take them, throw them into a GPT that I've already trained to do what I would do, and then some, and out comes the content.
Yep, nice.
It's scary now because I put an article out there, and some guy somewhere responded to the article and asked my GPT for a job.
Really? That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Scary. Hi, Art. Yeah, I had another guy. He just reached out to me last week and says, "Yeah, I saw how there's Gideon, one of my the guy who's one of my GPTs that specializes in artificial intelligence and bourbon.
Nice.
His name is Gideon P. Taylor, GPT." GPT. The guy called me. I was listen. I've been watching these articles from Gideon. And I want to talk to you about bourbon and this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so I don't know if he knows that these are GPTs, but he's been reading the articles written by Gideon.
Interesting.
It's scary. No, it's interesting, but it's like this is the edge right here. This is the edge. But
we live in a fantastic time.
Art, speaking of that, one last thing on the AI front. So I've been and this might be the difference between DeepSuck and the rest of the world. Like they have, OpenAI has custom GPTs and they have things called projects. A custom GPT is just how it sounds. You can tell it what you want it to do, and that remains static, right? So it's almost like a program,
Yep.
right?
Program mode on a
Support to it.
copier.
Right. It's very in this world. It's static. It does evolve. Projects evolve the more you interact with it, right? So it retains the memory of the conversation.
So could I have multiple program modes for
Oh,
different things that I
yeah.
do?
What I've been trained to do, Art, and I got the inspiration from us 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm training it to be the last sales class you'll ever take. So it's been consuming. You remember that stuff you told me about the colors? You know, this guy's blue and this.
Yes, personality traits.
It ate that whole program up. So that's part of its memory now. I threw, who's that real motivational speaker with the big hands? You know, no, he's a motivational speaker. You want something done? You do it. I want to learn how to fly. I learned how to fly a helicopter. That guy. Anyway, he's got Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins.
Okay.
I took a shitload of his stuff and downloaded it. The project ate it up, right? So now it's got that database, or we're calling it database. And then every conversation that I have with the AI, it stores. So I said, if you wanted to be the greatest sales training class ever, where are your gaps in your knowledge base? And it just ripped out. Okay. All right. So interview me to try and fill those gaps.
Right.
No pre-stage, no script, nothing. All I had to do was interview me and wait for my answer, and either ask me another question or ask me a different question based on my answer. It was an hour and a half long conversation.
So as that evolves, right?
Yep.
Does that mean that all of that content that was created between the back and forth,
Yep.
is that going to be accessible by anyone who's using ChatGPT?
Right now it isn't. Anyone who uses that project, anyone I give the ability to
So
use
the project remains yours.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Interesting.
But the point there is it's evolving as we go. Right. So what it knew 3 weeks ago, when I asked it, what don't you know? And it, interviewed me on to fill those blanks. Well, now I've got even more angles and holes that it may be partially full that need to be fully full. But this thing now is huge. And it is my goal, Art, is like, that's it. I don't want anyone to have to pay for another sales book, go to another sales class, nothing. If you get this, that's it. You don't need anything. Any question you have about anything from how to go from A3 to wide format, how to go, this to what's scanning, what's NPS, how do I do an NPS assessment, a technology assessment, what's a probe, what's leasing, how does leasing work, all that stuff. It's all buried in there. And now, if a newbie comes in, it can answer a basic question like, hey, well, I'm new here in Cincinnati. I've never sold copiers before. What should I do? Here it is, 12 steps. Okay, I've been selling for 35 years. I want to move from, automotive sales to, I want to go sell Musk rocket parts. What should I do? Here you go. That's it. You don't need, let's go talk to Andy or talk to any of these guys. Don't need to, well, for $400 a month for the next 6 years, I can coach you into that. So along those lines, they've got the $200 a month version. That's where I think I'm going to have to go.
Interesting.
Wow. But that's us, Art. So it's still in development.
Exciting. You'll have to get my mind in there soon.
Art, do you think I might have downloaded your every piece of content off your blog already?
Could be.
It's already in there, Art.
Could be. Speaking about blogs,
Yes.
we'll close with this.
All right.
As we all know, we're about well, what was it? I think about 5 weeks. Every week I release what happened in the copier industry 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And 5 years ago, there was a press release from Ricoh about COVID-19
Okay.
and what they were going to implement to protect their employees. Right. So it started for me the second week of March. When I got back is basically when the United States, I think a week after I got back, they issued a shelter in place.
Yep.
So I wrote a blog every day for almost 2 years that we were selling remote. So each week now I'll be releasing 5 days again at a time.
Hmm.
That- what a treasure trove.
What a
of information.
treasure trove of
If
information.
anyone were new and wanted to get some insight on how to work remotely,
Yeah. Or survive a pandemic
Pandemic.
in
Yep.
sales.
Another chapter.
Very
Got
nice.
everything you need. So everyone be on the lookout
cool.
for that. Be on the lookout for Greg and I, because we're going to have a lot more information. John is our resident guru, and I always want to thank John for being
Yeah.
on board. Greg always has a way to get us to the next page, thus his banner for 2026. I take that as we are far ahead of anyone and everyone else that talks about technology on our weekly show. And again, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week. We're on every Friday at 4 o'clock. And please like, follow, and share.
All right. See ya.